the shadows of Atlantic City, four women, Barbara Breidor, Molly Dilts, Tracy Roberts, and Kim Raffo, were all searching for a way out. Barbara, once hopeful for a new life, became caught in the underworld of the city. Molly, Tracy, and Kim each struggled with their own demons, trying to survive in a city that offered no real escape. But what happens when you're trapped in a cycle with no way out? In November 2006, their bodies were found behind the Golden Key Motel, discarded like forgotten souls. Their tragic end left unanswered questions. Who were they really? What had driven them to this point? These four women, victims of circumstance, remain part of a dark legacy, lost to a world that never protected them. Their stories serve as a haunting reminder of how fragile life can be when the world turns its back on you. In summer of 1997, Barbara Breidor, a young woman with dreams as big as any, moved to Atlantic City, New Jersey, from Huntington Valley, PA. She didn't come for the casinos or the neon lights. She came seeking something more, a fresh start. A new life, free from the suffocating weight of the past. Little did she know, this decision would forever alter the course of her life. But how do you rebuild when the world you're stepping into is a trap waiting to close? Atlantic City, to Barbara, seemed like the place where she could rebuild. But instead of finding opportunity, she found darkness, a world that would consume her, leaving behind only shadows. Could Barbara have known the danger lurking beneath the surface? And by January 2nd, 2005, Barbara's new life had taken a turn she hadn't imagined. Her dreams shattered by a solicitation arrest on the Atlantic City boardwalk. She was now trapped in a reality of struggle and survival. That same year, on July 22nd, 2006, she was arrested again, caught in the same web, struggling to survive in a city that took, but never gave. Barbara had fallen victim to the cruelty of circumstance, finding herself swept into a life she never planned, but one that clung to her with a suffocating grip. But was this the moment Barbara had given up, or was it a cry for help that went unheard? So, she didn't see a way out, and perhaps, deep down, she felt it was too late to escape. It wasn't just the law, it was the weight of choices and chances missed, each arrest serving as a brutal reminder of her entrapment. She pled guilty to 2 counts of prostitution in August 2006, an action that, while public, did nothing to soothe the deep pain buried beneath her surface. Also, Barbara's story should have ended in redemption. It should have been a story of recovery, a story of rising from the ashes. But the night of October 17, 2006, was the night everything changed. Barbara, who had tried to find some peace living with her friend Lori and Ventnor, left the house and never came back. No one knew where she went. Her sisters, Fran and Val, tried to file a missing persons report, but it was denied. Her disappearance was brushed aside, as though she was just another woman lost in the underbelly of Atlantic City. Where was Barbara? Had she simply disappeared, or had something darker happened to her? Why were the authorities unwilling to listen? And Barbara, like so many others in the shadows of society, had no voice when she needed it most. She had become a nameless face, a victim of a system that turned its back on the most vulnerable. And then, on November 20th, 2006, this was the day the unthinkable became reality. The remains of Barbara, Molly, Tracy, and Kim, all women, all from different walks of life, but bound together by the same grim fate, were discovered behind the Golden Key Motel in Atlantic City. The discovery came too late for Barbara's family, who had already been waiting in agonizing silence, hoping against hope that she would come home. For them, this moment was not just a tragedy. It was a death sentence to their peace, an irreversible blow that would leave scars for a lifetime. A mother's scream, a sister's broken heart, a family forced to bury their loved one without knowing the full truth of what happened. And the pain of the loss was deepened by the cruel fact that Barbara, like the others, had been discarded. In a place that promised second chances, Barbara was thrown away. Her life had no more value than the streets she walked. And in the aftermath, investigators worked tirelessly, but they found little, just more questions. Terry Olson, a man with ties to the Golden Key Motel, was questioned but never arrested. Olson's life was steeped in its own criminal darkness, yet he continued to walk free, his connection to Barbara's murder only deepening the pain. As the days and months dragged on, so did the questions. Where was the justice for Barbara? Where was the accountability? Her life, tragically, had been snuffed out by forces beyond her control. Forces that chose to ignore her cries for help. For Barbara's sisters, there was no closure, only an ever-deepening agony. The woman who had left her small town for a better life was now part of a story that was not hers to tell. A story written by the very system that had failed her. They searched for answers. They pleaded for help. And in the end, they were left with silence. Also, as time passed, Barbara's story was overshadowed by others. The mystery of her death faded from the headlines. But for those who knew her, for her family, for those who loved her, the pain remained. A broken family trying to move on, haunted by the life Barbara could never have. And for Barbara, her death wasn't just the loss of a woman. It was the erasure of a future never realized. She never had the chance to see how different things could have been. To find love, to find a career, to find peace. Her death, while tragic, is a stark reminder of how the most vulnerable in society often slip through the cracks. Their struggles ignored until it's too late. In the shadows of Atlantic City's glitzy casinos, Barbara's story is a whispered tragedy. A young woman who came for a fresh start but was instead consumed by the city's dark side. Also, the final question that remains for Barbara, and for the other women lost in Atlantic City, is this: why? Why did it have to end like this? What happened to Barbara on the night of her disappearance? Who is responsible for her death? The answers may never come. But one thing is certain. Barbara's story is a warning, a message that we cannot turn a blind eye to the suffering of the most vulnerable. We cannot allow women like Barbara to be discarded. For Barbara, the city never gave her the life she dreamed of. And, as the mystery of Barbara, Molly, Tracy, and Kim's deaths lingers, one question remains: who is responsible for ending their lives so brutally? The streets of Atlantic City still hold their secrets, and their families are left with nothing but unanswered questions. But one thing is certain: their stories deserve to be heard, and their memories must not fade into the shadows. So, what do you think? Who is responsible for the deaths of these 4 women? Could it have been someone they trusted, or does a darker figure still lurk in the background? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss. If you want to hear more about cases like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our deep dives into the stories that need to be told. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.